Hiya guys, hope you're well. So if you've come this far, it's probably because you've got a smidge of interest in micro brands. Now, micro brands on a whole are a bit of an enigma, aren't they? And it poses the wider question, how much emphasis us as consumers, watch addicts, the wider world, how much effort they put on brand recognition and that brand power and marketing. If you think of what you can get for under £400, sapphire crystal, ceramic bezel, lume ceramic bezel, super luminova, display case back, 300-meter water resistance there. All the things that you'd look for in a Omega Seamaster or a Rolex Submariner at literally a smidge of the price. So what's the difference? You could argue that there's going to be a certain amount of build quality, and you could argue that frigging badge on the front. And I'm as guilty as any for wanting the badge. I'm Andrew, and I'm a watch addict. Right guys, so all I've ever done on this channel is really luxury watches, for want of a better word, and that's just the way the cookie crumbles really. And this is the first well, I have been offered watches before and I've turned them down, or I've not featured them on the channel just because, well, they're not very frigging good. So, but this one, he's asked to send it in if I can do a video, and I'm like, yeah, because that's kind of what my channel is about. I wanted to broaden my horizons and experience as many watches as possible, and I've said that from the very first episode, and I haven't changed that. I do want to experience as many watches as possible, as many good watches as possible, really. And I'm not going to say too many glowing things about this watch because it's a micro brand, and I don't want to come across like I'm trying to plug his watch, push the watch, or anything like that. This is me experiencing watches for myself, and I suppose I'm just documenting it. But what I will say on it is that he offered to send me one. This is just a loan. He's offered to send me one to keep when they come out in December. And at first, when he told me that, I'm like, that's really nice, but I might not frigging want one. But I'm actually looking forward to it now, so I suppose that's as glowing reference as I can give it. But the stats speak for themselves, really, don't they? So under £400, £399, 300-meter water resistance. So that is a proper dive watch. Sapphire crystal, cannot argue with that. The bezel is ceramic, and it is a lumed bezel, so that's a pretty big deal for a watch under £400. Super luminova as well, so they aren't scrimped on the actual lume. The movement, what they say on the web page, is a Japanese Seiko NH35. Now that don't really mean anything to me, but two words streak out at me. It's a Japanese movement and it's a Seiko movement, so it's probably going to be half decent, so I think that's a good thing. Also, it's got a 42mm case, but the bezel overlaps, so it does wear a much more like a 40mm watch. The lugs are 20mm, it's 48mm lug to lug, and it's a thickness of 14.3mm, so really good dimensions. And I will say that the watch feels really well built and solid as a tank, and it could be a really good tool watch. There is no denying that it could work that way. The big thing that these guys do is that the straps are rubber straps and they're made from upcycled wetsuits. Now you're thinking, I think that quite works really, wetsuits, diving, going in the water, and apparently, I never knew this, but wetsuits are a bit like old tyres on cars. They're difficult to recycle, so they're doing something environmentally friendly, and if you're a more conscientious person, that is a good thing. Actually, the strap is really well made, it's very comfortable, and the actual, I'm guessing this is the wetsuit bit here, it's actually quite nice and strokeable, and I actually want to touch it more, so the next time I see a surfer on the beach, I might go give him a cuddle and a bit of a stroke. The lumed bezel is BGW9 Swiss Super Luminova. Oh, you can't argue with that, can you? It's really nice. Now, it is a pre-order from later in this month, 29th of August 2020. You can pre-order this and you'll be getting it just in time for Christmas. So a little treat just before Christmas, and it's under £400. Still a lot of money, but in the watch world, it's pennies really, isn't it? So it's not too bad on that front. I've enjoyed having the watch. I've got to send it in back next week. I have owned a few micro brands before. I've owned a Borealis, I think you call it. I think they're from Portugal. I enjoyed that again, a dive watch, really well made. And I suppose you can't really call them a micro brand anymore, but they started off like that, didn't they? And it was a Christopher Ward. So they've got 4 watches to choose from, all exactly the same design, but it's a different dial you can choose from. So they've got the white and black, which is a bit like the Seamaster. They've got the grey, which I quite like, the blue and the all black, which I've got here today. And to be honest, I really like the all black. Now, there's always a case of an all black 40mm, 42mm diver competing with the Rolex Submariner or the Seamaster, and they're the two dogs in the diving world, king dogs, dinglings in the diving world. So yeah, it's difficult to compete, but I think this does quite well in the fact that it doesn't really look like anything else on the market. So he's got his own design, he's got his own fonts, and I think it's unique enough to be a standalone dive watch. I think it's pretty cool. So the too good, too bad that I'm going to say about this, I'll start with the bad. It's actually the strap. Now, I do love a leather strap. I do love the feel of the wetsuit on there. I think that's really, really nice. But for me, it's just a little bit too thick round this way. So I think if it was a little bit thinner, I think it would be a little bit easier to manage. Now, that's not a micro brand issue. That's a wider issue. My Tudor Pelagos was incredibly thick and difficult to get on and on because it was such tough rubber. Now, this isn't particularly tough rubber, but because it's thick, it takes me a little longer than I want to get it on. So I'm really picking there, a little minor, but I'm looking for the perfect watch, and I would make that rubber a little bit smaller. And even though it's got a display case back, I think the rotor could be a little bit more decorated. I think it's a little bit too plain. It just looks a little bit, dare I say, bog standard. Again, not the end of the world considering what you're getting in this watch, but yeah, could be a little better. And the too good on this is the bezel and the bezel action. It's a really solid, really clicky, really satisfying bezel. The only thing that I maybe say is that it could be a little bit easier to grip, but once you get it going, the action itself, I don't know if you can hear that. Yeah, so I quite like that. Yeah, the bezel's good. And the overall build quality, the look of it sort of doesn't look like a tank, but it looks good quality, feels good quality. I feel like I could throw it around, wear it all day, every day, and I think it's a decent watch for the money. So I need to know really, guys. I'm really conscious of banging on about a micro brand when I don't really do them, but have you enjoyed the video? Obviously, I'm in it. Do you like micro brands? Would you buy one? Would you buy this watch? Looking for honest opinion, honest feedback really on what you thought of everything involved in today's video. Right guys, over and out. I'll see you in the next one.